Welcome back to my channel. I haven't seen you guys in a long time, but I did something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and so I wanted to document it. And I think I'm going to do 2 videos because one needs to be just about the description of the RV itself, and I think the second one needs to be about the location where we stayed at. So it's going to be a 2-part video. So if you are looking to rent an RV, if you have an RV, if you've done this before, I'd love for you to give me your thoughts and your feedback on this experience. For us, this was our very first time doing it. And there are so many good things about this. There are some downsides, of course, with anything, but would I do it again? Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into it. So we went back and forth with renting from a private owner or going through a company. We ended up going through a company, and it's called Lightning RV. And we did a lot of research trying to decide which one we wanted to get. I am a family of 6, and I had my elderly parents with us, so we had very specific requirements if we were going to rent an RV. The one we got was a 9-person, slept 9 people. But as you know, they come in all different shapes and sizes, and that's the interesting part about the campsite that we'll get into later. Some things that we learned, depending upon the year, RV that you rent, insurance is not always necessary. Additional insurance not always necessary. So depending on the year, the person renting it to you will not require for you to pay. The older models will not require for you to get additional insurance. So mileage range from 39 cents to 56 cents per mile. They give you an allotted amount of miles that that's included with your rental. And then anything over that, you will have to pay that additional mileage. At this particular company, anything under 30 feet, the price range for your days would be different. So if you have a vehicle that's 30 feet and above, if you rent it for 3 days, if you rent it for 4 days or 5 days, the rate is the same. So we were only going to be gone for 4 days, but we got the rental for 5 days because it was the same price. So why that is, I'm not sure, but that is what this particular company chose to do. So we got a 37-foot, which really is like 38 feet. Here she is, the Georgetown A36, 37-foot triple slide RV. So I neglected to mention that after day 5, then the rate changes again. So day 6, you'll have looks like a higher rate, and then weekly, it'll be an even higher rate. And then 7+ days, they have a per day rate. Days 3, 4, and 5 are the same. So it just depends on whether or not you've been on an RV or not. So for us, I had grandiose plans. Let's go, out west. But realistically, for our first trip, that didn't make sense. So 3, 4, or 5 days worked out just for us. Now, as far as the mileage, for this one is 39 cents a mile, and then you get 100 free miles per day with your rental. And then you have the generator rental that is also included, and you get 4 hours of generator use per day. So the generator will come in, so it's called boondocking. So let's just say you're not going to a campsite. Let's say you're just going to park in the woods somewhere. So if you use the generator, which you're going to have to use the generator to have electricity and the water and all of that, they give you 4 hours free a day, and anything outside of that, you'll have to pay $4 per hour. So each RV company and private owner will have different rates. I know that a lot of people who own RVs, you know, they have their own generators, of course. So, but when you're renting, then you have to go with. As you enter the RV, this sofa chair here is a pull-out. These captain chairs, both of them swivel, but we couldn't get them to swivel. Above the captain's seat here is a single let-down bed. You have lots of storage above. The banquette also pulls out into a sleeper. And of course, I had to bring my own babies with me, Bertha and Bam Bam. She had to come with me. And I stocked a refrigerator so we didn't have to. This was just the perfect way to travel because we still were inside of our own little bubble. I could already have our meals prepared. We could stock as much as we needed and grab what we needed along the way. So I just really, really, really loved the idea of this. It's a double fridge and freezer, full size, which is not always common in RV rentals. This particular model does come with 2 full bathrooms and 2 bunks, as well as a king size bedroom in the back where the additional en-suite bathroom is. Plenty of storage. Majority of the storage was in the king bedroom, which was fine. And I'll have to tell you about our sleeping arrangements. That was pretty interesting. And then the slide outs was very interesting as well. So it wasn't what I was thinking in my mind, but it worked out fine. Here is a second bathroom, which is almost identical to the en-suite bathroom. There are, of course, no tubs, but these are all shower stalls. We went at the beginning of the school year, the first week of school, so the kids had to get to it. It's a good thing, though, about homeschooling. You're able to keep it moving, don't miss a beat. So here are some of the things that were crazy. So we're doing the walkthrough, and I got the eagle eye, so I'm looking for every nook and cranny, what's going on. And my husband, he's like, I'll make some money back from that. Okay, so a couple of things. The turnover for the rental of these vehicles are every 2 years because they lose their value. I didn't realize that till I started really, really doing some extra research on purchasing one. And that's when I found out that they're just not good investments. Unless you are able to use them often, they just lose their value so quickly, which was so disappointing to me. Unless you're going to rent them out, and it pays for itself. I was so deflated. When I heard that. But anyway, that aside, because we're not in the market to purchase at this moment, they turn them over every 2 years. This one rental was a 2019. And I kept telling my husband, I could have swore when we watched the video, the man said it was a 2021. Okay, regardless, still new, right? We're doing the walkthrough, and so many small things were like chipped and broken and this and that and this and that. And it was fine until we got to the pull-out bed. So he pulls the couch out, and the whole metal frame on one side is broken. And again, I mentioned my elderly parents were with us, and we were giving them the king size, the bedroom in the back. And me and my husband were going to sleep on the pull-out couch. Well, the pull-out couch was not usable at all. And this is the walkthrough when we are leaving, like we're getting ready to pull out on our trip. And now we don't have a bed to sleep in. So they call around, and one of the managers comes out. He's like, I'm so embarrassed. This has never happened. So I questioned him. I said, I'm confused here because you take a deposit from people to make sure they don't damage anything. So when the person, because we were here when this was pulling out with the previous owner, we were in the lot. So did you not do a walkthrough when they came back? And he says, well, yes, we did. I said, well, then I'm confused. So he said, well, we pull the bed out enough to be able to check behind it and make sure there's nothing back behind it, but we don't pull the bed all the way out. I said, but why? But why don't you do that? So now here we are stuck with I'm gonna be sleeping on the floor situation. So they ended up giving us a credit, and then they put, what are those things called? They are the blocks that they go under the levelers. When you park your RV at the park to stabilize your vehicle, they stack those up so that the bed could rest, the bottom part of the bed could rest on that, and it worked out. So that's what we're going to do. So on the way down, my parents were in the back because we left at night, and you cannot move around when this thing is driving. There are 7 seatbelts. There's seatbelts everywhere. But when the slides, there are 3 slides. There's one for the banquette right by the refrigerator and the chair, and that pushes out. The bunk beds push out, as well as the king bed slides out. So the 3 slides, of course, they're in when you're driving, so it's very narrow. When the slide is in for the king bed, you have to climb over the bed to get to the bathroom. So that was kind of a shocker for me. I was expecting to be able to walk, all the way through, but you could not. So if you're in the master bedroom, you're going to have to pretty much stay there while it's in motion. So quickly, on the way back, I was exhausted because, I was exhausted. You all know moms, but you know. So I decided, my mom and dad did not want to stay in the bedroom coming back. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine with me. I'm going to go in the back and I'm going to sleep all the way back home. No, ma'am. No ham. Do you hear me? It was just like this. On the ride, every bump, you were like flung out of the bed. I was like, oh boy, this is, you can't sleep in the bed when you're driving. So that was kind of a disappointing moment as well. What else was disappointing? The TV station with the stations you couldn't really get any. Okay, so we have a semi-solution to this bed situation, right? So I can't remember if it was halfway through at maybe a rest stop or if it was after we arrived at the park. But my parents came from the back and they were like, we're going to sit up here. And I was like, oh, okay. Why don't they want to go in the back? You don't want to lay in the back? Oh, okay, well, whatever. They didn't want to go in the back anymore. And I didn't know why, but I didn't question it. I was like, maybe they just want to sit up. I understand. Maybe they don't want to lay down the whole time. That was my assumption. And then when we did get there the next day, because Derek had driven through the night, he was exhausted, so he went in the back. And my dad was like, "No, you all take the king. You all take the bed. We will sleep out here." So we were gladly like, "Okay." No problem. So we ended up with the bedroom after all, and my parents did the fold-out bed. So on the way home at the end of the trip, I was exhausted. You know how it is when you go on a family trip. Well, maybe you don't, but as a mom, when you go on a family trip, it's not really a vacation for us moms. We're running around making sure everybody has what they need. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, so we still had a lot of precautions that we had to take, even though we were still in a semi-bubble. So I had to make sure they didn't And I'm a little OCD, you know, just a little bit. So I didn't want them digging in stuff, and because you know, you pack a bag and then the clothes are all over here. Nobody knows where stuff. Yeah. So I had to first oversee everything, make sure everything was orderly and all of that. So at the end, on the way home, I was exhausted. So I decided you all go ahead up front. You don't need nothing else from Mom. We're good. You guys do what you want. Close the door, and I'm gonna sleep all the way home. Well, I get in the bed and it's literally doing this the whole way. You can't sleep because number 2, there was construction on the road. So there was lots of raggedy roads all the way back home, which I don't recall being as bad going down. But I was in a different part of the vehicle. I bounced from wall to wall in the back and did not sleep at all. So now I understood why my parents did not want to be back there. All in all though, all the little things that didn't work, all the things that had been damaged by previous people, even the bed being broken, all of it was fine because we had a great time. You do have to either pay an extra fee to have the gray water, black water tanks emptied, or you can do it yourself. They do all the information in the walkthrough. They give you, so I just recorded it all so I wouldn't try to have to figure out what he said and remember what he said. Everything that man said, I recorded it with my phone, and we just referred back to it. Plus, we met my brother who drove down from New Jersey at the campsite, and he has his own RV that he rents out. So they helped us a lot with a lot of the outside maintenance things with it. So if you're not familiar with it, be sure to take a video so that you can remember how to do things. But stay tuned for part 2, and I will show you all around the campsite.